Welcome back, guys, to our podcast, Dignity Speaks. Wanted to start off this episode by saying thank you to our sponsor, BetterHelp. Get better. Get help. We all need it.
Yeah.
Link is in the bio if you guys want to get your 15% discount off of your first session.
Today, we have some guests with us. We got
Desiree,
Pedro,
Christine,
Julian.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
I'm feeling good.
Tired.
Yeah.
I'm feeling amazing after BetterHelp.
Yeah, definitely. How are your guys' kids doing? Are they doing good? How are the wives? Are they happy? Do they need better help?
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that you recently got into an argument with your wife the other day.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was pretty dramatic, in my opinion.
Oh?
Great altercation with the kids.
Yeah, it's fucked up. I mean, like, what's the cheese grater for? Like, grating cheese? Like, what was she using that for? Okay. Well, how did that conversation go with your wife?
It was, no, I can't explain it. She was a little emphasizing the conflict between us.
Was it her words or like how did this whole thing happen?
I think it was more her words towards my dignity.
I see.
Did you feel that your dignity was violated?
Yes, I was belittled and just made me discouraged in many ways.
Now, I have a question for you. To me, dignity is more of like a motivator for being my best self. It's like to treat yourself with the same respect that you're going to give others. So my question is, what's your definition of dignity? What does dignity mean to you?
Well, to me, dignity means knowing that you matter and the people around you matter. And in this situation, I felt like my opinions, my feelings didn't matter in that situation.
I feel like she totally disrespected your dignity with that. Like, I feel like dignity is the respect given when you have empathy for someone, and she clearly disregarded that.
Yeah, I feel like you said, it's like the worth and we matter. But I think it's when honoring someone's dignity, you should acknowledge and validate their feelings.
I have a question for everyone here. How would you personally defend your own dignity?
For me, I would set my boundaries and make them clear to others and make sure they respect it, and in return I'll do the same to them, because like, you know, when your dignity is protected and like everyone feels safe and comfortable and respected, no conflict. But when dignity is not respected, then conflict occurs.
I agree.
I think, like you said, setting boundaries is important, but also communicating whenever something like upsets you or you feel hurt or disrespected. I think you should communicate and like stand up for yourself, basically.
Yeah, for sure, because if you don't communicate, then stuff just keeps building up and that causes tension and it'll eventually explode.
I think that happens a lot with conflict. A lot of the times people will internalize their own thoughts because they're scared of the person's reaction, because especially if it's like a person that you're close with, those are the people you don't want to upset or hurt or make them feel some type of way. So people hold in their real thoughts, and it actually just leads to bigger outbursts in the future.
Definitely. When that thing happened with your wife, how did you approach it? I'm sorry for laughing. It's just so bizarre to me
How she exploded on you.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Like,
Oh, you're such a sweet guy.
So, unfortunately, the way I approached the conflict was taking it all in. Like, the words she used, I definitely felt like I should have defended myself at the moment. But in regards to what Julian had said, what was running through my mind is to protect her feelings and to just take in the pain for myself.
So like your own feelings were disregarded in order to protect hers.
Yeah.
That sucks. When's the
Very
divorce?
I think it's understood that conflict is part of any relationship, but a question I have more towards that is, how can your own choice of words lead to misunderstandings, especially within relationships like a marriage or a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship? For me, I'll give like an example. I think it's important when you're apologizing, especially, to choose the right words,
Yeah.
because usually when you're apologizing, there's kind of a sensitivity to the subject. It's very important to choose the right words because you're trying to show them that you feel regret for your actions and that you want things to be better than they were before. Saying things like, "Oh, I'm sorry that you feel that way," can definitely diminish an apology, because you're not apologizing for what you did, you're apologizing because you think they shouldn't feel that way. And I think that those things, especially in a relationship, either a friendship or like a romantic relationship, those definitely, they hurt a lot more than people think. So I think it's very important to be clear with your words.
I definitely agree. The choice of words does impact the conflict. For example, she did state, like, at a certain point, this is your fault, as in myself. And
Oh my God.
I felt like that choice of words, as in my fault, could have been dealt with by elaborating more on the conflict, like to see both sides and see who is the one at fault. Like, is it me, is it her, or is it both of us?
Yeah, I give you props to not adding on to the fire. You know, I personally hate starting conflict, but once it's there, like, I'm gonna keep going, and you know, props to you. You know, it could have been like screaming match. You guys could have just gone silent, or you know, just
Definitely like a lot of different outcomes of conflict. A lot of the time, it kind of does just lead to both people feeling worse than they did at the start. But I think it's important. An important step of conflict is de-escalation, because without de-escalation, it's just going to get worse and worse. So another question for everyone is, how do you de-escalate situations where both you and whoever you're arguing with or having a misunderstanding with feels that way? How would you de-escalate that situation?
I would try to see where they're coming from and just try to understand their point of view. And like, rather than attacking them, kind of just like validate them. Somewhere else you're just going to be arguing over pointless things and not getting to a resolution.
Me personally, I have to leave to calm down for a bit, because if I don't, the screaming match is going to continue.
I mean, I feel like acknowledgement and empathy goes a long way when like de-escalating and resolving conflict. Like, again, just understanding where they're coming from, and like, yes, putting your ego to the side and actually wanting to listen to them.
Yeah, putting your pride to the side in order to apologize. Because for me, I'm kind of prideful, so I don't like admitting that I'm wrong, and that's something that I have to work on, because I would refuse to apologize if I think that I'm not in the wrong.
I feel like that ties into, you know, like what it comes down to in apologizing or accepting an apology.
Especially when accepting an apology, I think there are a lot of things to consider. There's definitely benefits and disadvantages of forgiveness. To me, some of like the benefits of forgiveness are, especially if the conflict was treated correctly, it can lead to even a stronger bond than before, because now you've set like a clear boundary with that person and they know not to cross it anymore because it is a problem to you. But I think a large disadvantage of forgiveness is it's kind of hard to forgive a person depending on how severe something they did to you. And it's very important before accepting an apology to consider if what they did was so wrong that you feel that the relationship can't continue in the same way as before. I think that is something very important to consider when talking about accepting an apology.
Yeah. But how can you tell if like an apology is genuine? like they actually mean it.
I think any apology followed by like I'm sorry but is disingenuous. Like it undermines like everything they said before. And apologies with I'm sorry you feel that way, like how Julian said, don't acknowledge one's mistake, and it's not their responsibility to apologize why a certain person like felt that way about their actions.
I'm sorry could be manipulated, like you said, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
They could be gaslighting you into thinking that you're the one in the wrong, or blaming the other person for their
Just
own
like your
feelings.
Pedro's wife right here. Yeah.
Your wife is trying to gaslight you, Pedro.
Very much. I think another way like, apologies can be manipulated is also to avoid like consequences. Like I received my consequences in the actions that she displayed. However, there's no consequences on her actions towards her. And it does lead to guilt tripping someone. It makes me feel worse than she does.
Has she apologized? Like what's the situation there?
I think we gave each other like a bit of space for a bit, you know, so of course there is a bit of tension.
Yeah.
I'm letting her recollect herself and to help settle the situation and to hopefully when we're back into our regular daily basis of communicating, we can set boundaries to our conflict and find one big solution.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think in certain conflicts or disagreements it's okay to agree to disagree? At what point in a disagreement or an argument are you starting to consider this person isn't going to see the way I see? I think it's best if we agree to disagree.
Agreeing to disagree is, again, just getting a better understanding of each other, letting each other share their thoughts. I feel like it could build like respect, empathy, open-mindedness, you know, like instead of trying to like blame the person, maybe it's something else causing it. Just building better trust with the relationship.
When settling like our differences, like new emotions can arise from the situation. Like let's say like the tension gets worse between me and my wife, and maybe she wants to settle the difference by maybe, you know, considering a divorce. But I think it comes to that time to like start communicating again. It takes steps.
I can see it's really like rustling up your feathers.
Yeah.
It's
It's like emotional.
a very touchy subject right now. I'm sorry.
Very touchy.
Looks like we're
We're
running
dinner?
short on time. Before we end this, wanted to go around, maybe talk about some things that stood out to us today. Start off with Desiree.
I just found like it was unfair that you had to, like you were the one affected and your wife kind of could act however she wanted. And I think it's just important for both sides to like admit their wrongs in order for the situation to actually like improve. So I think you guys should definitely talk it out, and you should tell her how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What stood out to me in my conflict was definitely the language, since that did create like a lot of tension and it worsened the conflict. But again, maybe her language could have desensitized the situation.
Well, I just want you to remember that forgiveness is more for you and not for your wife. I'm not saying you shouldn't forgive her, but, and like to forget what she's done, you could forgive her, but don't forget what she has done wrong, and then you can use that for future references. So if she crosses your boundaries again, that could just be the end.
Kind of going off of what you just said, I think it's very important to, especially the saying, you know, you'll forgive but you won't forget. I think a big part of forgiveness itself is acknowledging the past mistakes and moving past it and growing as a person. And your wife's a lucky lady to have such an understanding husband.
Yeah, I agree with the saying that goes, forgive but don't forget. I feel like that also plays in like a big part of accepting apologies. If she changes, great. I mean, I know you guys have had other struggles, but this one, it's been a pattern, Consider the divorce, but I don't know. A bunch of things to take into consideration. Any finishing thoughts, you guys?
Have a good day.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. Make sure to check out that link.
For better help.
BetterHelp. Get help. Pedro might need it.